You know that feeling at the end of the day when you've been busy nonstop, yet somehow you still feel so far behind? It's not that you weren't productive, it's that you were chasing a finish line that didn't actually exist. Most people try to get everything done, but they've never stopped to define what that even means. So their days turn into a blur of reacting instead of accomplishing. And that's exactly why the to-do list starts to feel like a trap instead of a tool. But here's the good news. When you organize your list the right way, you'll know exactly what matters, exactly what can wait, and you'll finally end your day with that rare, satisfying feeling of being caught up. In this video, I'll show you a simple system to organize your to-do list so you never feel behind again. No more hustle guilt, no chaos, just clarity and progress. So grab your list, settle in, and let's work through this together. All right, let's jump in here. By the end of this video, I guarantee you guys have a practical strategy. I'm going to take you through 7 steps that I promise you will get you to the end of your day and you feeling like you nailed it, like you crushed your day, right? So it's not just not feeling like you're defeated. I want you to feel amazing at the end of the day, have clarity and ready to tackle the next day. Let's dive in. So first thing I want to do is I want to break down for you what exactly is happening when you have all these to-dos in your head and you have no system for them. Okay, I call it death by 1,000 to-dos. And what you have to understand is all these to-dos going on in your head are activating a stress response in your body. This is why people are quote unquote stressed out. And if you don't have a system for these to-dos, this is one of the 5 pillars I talk about as the main drivers to creating chronic stress loop. Check out other videos on my YouTube channel where I go through all 5. But this really solves for that first pillar, which is what I call death by 1,000 to-dos. So what you have to understand is all these to-dos in your head, they're all creating a stress response. And I'm going to kind of illustrate to you exactly how it's doing that and what we need to do about it. So here we are, we're going through our day, and then boom, something pops in our head, right? A to-do, right? Or something comes into our awareness, right? Is a problem. A problem that we need to solve. Or an unresolved problem. All of these things that are rolling around in your head, when you think about it, they're unsolved problems, unresolved problems. Another way I call it is they're all open loops, right? There's something that's incomplete and my nervous system doesn't like that it's incomplete. We haven't solved for it. We don't even know how to solve for it. We may not even have identified exactly what the problem is. That's an open loop. And that, to your nervous system, when it becomes aware of that, when we become aware of it, that's literally a threat. It's a potential threat. All of these unresolved problems, to-dos, and open loops are potential threat. So what does it do? It turns on our stress response. And here's what's absolutely essential to understand. Why is our body turning on our stress response? Is it doing it because it's trying to ruin our day? Hardly. It's actually trying to help us. And so what the stress response is actually doing is it's mobilizing resources. So what kind of resources? Energy. This is why when the stress response goes off, heart rate increases, blood pressure increases, actually our focus increases, our acuity increases. Like there's this surge of energy that goes through the system. And so as a response, and if we use those resources as they're intended to use, and then the stress response will go off. But if we don't use the resources what they're intended for, this is where we get stuck in the chronic stress loop. So what do you think those resources are for? I hear you screaming it. To solve the problems. Solve the problems. Close the loops. We have to get better at identifying what problems we have, which problems are more important or meaningful for us to solve, and then to start to identify the solutions, or at least the first step towards solving something. And that's all your nervous system wants. It just wants to know, hey, have you acknowledged this thing? That's a potential threat, an unresolved problem. And if we have identified it, are we doing anything about it? Are we taking any steps to do anything about it? Okay, like if the answer to those questions are no, the nervous system is going to continue to send off the alarm system saying threat, threat, threat. Right? Now here's where people make the mistakes in, I'd say, the traditional personal development world. A lot of times what we're taught is we use these resources to turn off the stress response. Okay? Breathing, meditation, etc. Now, if you use breath work, centering yourself to solve the problem, close the loops, take action, great. But if you're just doing it to turn off the stress response, oh, like how do I get rid of this anxiety? How do I get rid of this overwhelm? How do I get rid of this sadness? How do I get rid of these emotional communications that are trying to tell me something that I need to solve for? You do not want to be shutting these things off, okay? You don't want to be letting go of your emotions. Not helpful if you're not solving the problem that it's trying to tell you needs to be solved, okay? If we don't solve the problem with our resources, okay, well, not only do the original open loops not get solved, but I don't know if you've noticed, but the to-do list and the thoughts, they don't stop, right? They keep coming. They keep coming. And this is what I mean by death by 1,000 to-dos. And so what happens in this process, as you can see, as this stress response just keeps going and going and going, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And to the point where we actually, when it gets really bad, we just start to dissociate from it. We get disconnected to ourselves. We just kind of go numb. We don't even feel anything anymore because we don't really have any better options because no one told us how to start to solve for some of this stuff, okay? And that's where you get stuck in the chronic stress loop, and that's where things can go really south. And so what you're going to learn here in this video is how to stop this loop from being taken over by I call them the everyday loops or all of the to-dos. And so this is why it's absolutely essential to have a system to organize your to-dos and a system that teaches you how to prioritize your to-dos. I'm going to show you in this video exactly how to do that, okay? So step one, all right, this is huge, all right, because I do talk to a lot of people. I've been doing this for 20 years, and some people are like, yeah, I write stuff down, Matt. It's like, really? Where do you keep it? Well, I have a list in my kitchen. I got a list in my car. I got a list on the swing set in the backyard. I got a list at the soccer field where my kids have, like, oh my God. Yeah, no, that's actually makes me overwhelmed when people tell me that. You have to identify the one place that you're going to keep all of your to-dos. You have to, it has to all live in one place, okay? At the maximum, a personal and a work one, maximum, okay? I like to have it all in one spot, and there's really great tech and good apps, and I'll share with you the one I use here in a second, where you can have it all in one place. There's no need to have it all over the place, I don't think, okay? And so here's a couple suggestions, all right? At the bare minimum, just have one pad, journal, notebook, anything, where it will be where you collect all to-dos, okay? Everything that comes into your brain. Okay, harder to organize this, but it can be done. Can be done. If you're a pen and paper person, that's fine. Just make sure it all lives in one place as best you can. I even have some worksheets that I'll share with you. If you're a pen and paper person, that can be beneficial, okay? The second place I find people can use, like one place to capture everything, is just notes on your phone. It's at least it's digital. So the advantage to digital is you can move stuff around, you can cut and paste. And so, and it's on your phone, so it's always with you. So notes is also not a bad option. But I think the best option is an app that's designed to collect to-do lists and help you organize them. The one I use is the Todoist app. I'm a big fan of the Todoist app. The system that I'm gonna show you here in this video, I have it all in my Todoist. I have it organized that. There'll be other videos and things that I teach where I go even more depth into what you can do with your to-do list to really get into some of the specifics, because some people's lives are a little bit more complicated than others. And so it's good to kind of go a little bit more depth with how you organize your to-dos. I'm going to stay pretty high level in this video, but the Todoist app can do the high level stuff, and then it can get into the kind of I'll call it the fancier ways to do it. This is kind of what it looks like. You can work with it on your desktop. You can work with it on your phone. So that's also very friendly. It has an area where you can just add tasks, which is really helpful. You can create categories and projects like I'll share with you. So it has all of the tools and the ability to kind of organize everything. There's a free version of it, and obviously if you want more bells and whistles, you pay a couple bucks for it, okay? But you can get it pretty much on your app store, or you can download it on your computer. But I do recommend, I do think this is the best solution. But whatever you decide, make sure it's one thing, one place, okay? So that's step one. Step two, once you've identified where all your to-dos are gonna live, if you have like multiple to-do lists living in different areas, step one is get all of them in one place, like bear hug them all, like get all the different lists and get it into one place, right? Because what we need to do is we need to get all of it down, and you got to put it into this one place, whether that's a pad and paper or into an app or on your phone. You need to write all your to-dos down. So you want to collect all of the to-do lists that you already have, start putting them on this. But I also want to talk about what exactly I mean by to-dos. We kind of talked about that they're open loops. And so open loops can be very, specific, tangible things like, oh man, I need to send that email. Oh man, I need to take that thing back to Amazon and return it. I got to go to UPS. Oh man, I need to sign up my daughter for soccer. Whatever those things are, those are kind of the more obvious open loops. All right, but what I want you to think about here when you do step three, when we do step two down, which is kind of write everything down. Yes, all those things are included on your to-do list, but I want you to think of like all of the problems that need to be solved. Like, so everything you're thinking about in your brain, okay? It may not be just an email. It may be something bigger, right? Maybe your mind, your brain is constantly thinking about this relationship with your sister, this relationship with your husband, this thing that your child is struggling with, this person at work that's driving you crazy. Whatever it is, I want you to write it down, okay? Because all of these things are open loops. They're all things that your nervous system, your brain is constantly trying to solve for. And we need to get it all out on the table so we can see what exactly your brain is perceiving as a threat that we need to solve for, okay? And so this is why I just call this a kind of a brain dump. Get it all out of your head, whatever is going on in there, okay? Right? Like write it all down. Everything you're worried about, what you're anxious about. Maybe it's your future. Maybe you're stuck in the past. Maybe you still regret a decision you made in the past. And that's what your brain is constantly kind of ruminating over. You gotta kind of get connected to what's happening with yourself. And this is a great way to do it. Do a brain dump, write down all the to-dos, all the worries, everything that makes you anxious, like just put it all down on paper, because all of them are open loops. Every single one of this is an open loop. It's a problem that we need to start to solve for, okay? Gotta get clear on what those are, all right? So step one. Now my recommendation for this, when you start, is get at least 25 things written down, okay? At least 25. I would do, at your first kind of take on this, at least 25, no more than like 50, okay? So 25 to 50, get it written down. If you want to pause the video and write it down, do that, because I'm gonna just take you through the steps in this video. Obviously, it's gonna take you some time each step, but if you want to pause the video before going to step three, then please do that, all right? But you want to write down 25 to 50 things that your brain is thinking about, those open loops and those to-dos, okay? Step three, once you have this list, okay, so let's say you wrote 30 things down, Okay, good job, number one. So celebrate that. Well done. You got 30 things written down in one place, right? Like it all lives in one spot. Okay, the 30 things, right? What you got to do is you want to categorize your list, because what you'll notice on that list is what seems like it's all over the place when you just write it down. Okay, a lot of people kind of relate to their brain as, man, my brain's all over the place. And it's not, actually, it usually isn't. It's usually kind of focused on one or two areas mostly. And so you want to start to understand, where is my brain kind of more obsessed about right now? And so chunking down the list is a good way to start to get a peek inside of what's going on in there. And so you categorize your list. I'm going to go through the categories that I use. Feel free to, make them yours. If you like to change the name or you like different categories, it's totally fine. I'm going to give you this list because I think it kind of captures everything in your life, but feel free to do what works for you, okay? So the first category is health and fitness. And so maybe a lot of the things on that list has to do with your health and fitness, right? Maybe it has to do with working out, eating better, going to the doctor, whatever, right? Like those kinds of things. Maybe you're worried about some pain you have in your side and you haven't gotten it looked into yet. Like that would go under health and fitness. Family and relationships, obviously a huge category. Relationships are a huge category. Usually one of the categories that kind of can really take over, the open loop, obsession, right? Maybe there's that one relationship right now that you're just like, oh, I just wish I could solve for that. Okay, write it down, right? Family relationships, if you see stuff on your list that go into that category, you want to put it into that category. House and entertainment, these are things that, just household stuff, I got to get a new carpet in that room. I need to call the painter to paint the thing. The gutter's leaking. I got to make sure I call that person. Whatever. Oh, I need to, call somebody about the roof. Whatever it is, like that would be, anything on your list that has to do with house and entertainment. Entertainment is, get those tickets for the concert for my house, for my husband, so we can go out and to see the show. Whatever. Entertainment category. Finances, anything on the list that has to do with finances. Taxes, accounting, maybe you're just worried about retirement. All those things would fall into that category. Personal growth, again, some of this stuff can be subjective. Personal growth can be maybe courses you want to take. Maybe you're in school. Maybe you want to learn something. Maybe you want to learn an instrument. Maybe you want to learn a new language. Maybe you want to learn about a new culture. Anything that would correlate to personal growth. Spirituality, I kind of put in its own category. That's an important category for me. So, and for many people, so if there's things on there, like some people, it's like, man, I really do nothing to nurture my spirituality. Maybe there's things on there about, I want to maybe start going back to church, or I want to, explore some of the religion that I was brought up with or understand it more. Okay, great. That's the category we go in. Admin and errands. These are those kind of tasks that I talked about in the beginning, the emails, the phone calls, dropping off the thing at Amazon, all that stuff. So we got a category for that. And then the last one, work and career. How many things out of that 30 to 50 things, 25 to 30 things that you wrote down are in the category of work and career, all right? So you want to, like I said, go through every single thing you wrote down and make sure they live in a category. And then we're going to move on to the next step, all right? So pause if you need to. We're going to keep moving forward. Step 4. This is so important. Okay, step 4 is you're going to identify the area of greatest concern. And so how do we do that, right? And so now that you've kind of named a category for every single one of these to-dos out of this 25 to 50, this is why I wanted you to have a decent amount on your list, because you need a lot on the list to get a better idea about what's the greatest concern. I want you to basically start to name or mark or count how many of these 25 to 50 things go into health and fitness, right? So you might say, man, I've got like 8 things in health and fitness. All right, family and relationships. Oh man, I got 10 there. Okay, house and entertainment, there's 2. Finances, I got 1. Personal growth, I've got 3. Spirituality, I got 4. Admin and errands, there's 6. Work and career, 4. Okay? And so whatever it is, it's fine. But this is what's so important, because if, let's say, 10 out of the 25 or 10 out of the 50, right? And that's the greatest number. That means that your brain is most stressing about this category. Okay? It means that the highest percentage of that chronic stress loop, the thing is trying to solve, this is what it's trying to solve the most. So it's what's its greatest concern. Okay, so whatever category has the most in it is what we're going to call your greatest concern, because it's what your nervous system is perceiving to be the biggest threat, right? Whatever category has the most in it, think of that as whatever reason your nervous system perceives to be the biggest threat. All right, this is so important, so valuable, because I find people, they're messing around with this one. All of their time and energy is going here, but their brain is saying the problem right now is here. I know you're so focused on this right now and trying to solve these 4 things, but no, your brain's freaking about your health and fitness. Right? Like, so we have to get real about what's going on here, or else we're just kind of, we're solving small problems and ignoring the elephant in the room. Okay, so this is a majorly important step, because remember, greatest concern means the greatest threat. And if your brain perceives a big threat, that stress response is going to go if you don't start to solve for it. Okay, so once you identify the area of greatest threat, now we're going to take the next step. The next step is to assess all the to-dos in your primary category. So you got your primary category, number 1. I grabbed health and fitness as the example. It's a popular one. I'm not going to say it's always health and fitness, but it's a popular one. And so what you're going to do is you're going to grab all the to-dos, all the things that go under health and fitness. I have a list of about, 8 of them here. Okay, so they can look like this: morning journaling, go grocery shopping, go for a walk outside, not getting good sleep, stretch and foam roll, need to eat better, should I join a gym, order new sneakers. Okay, so you can see it's a variety of things. And this is where the next step comes in. We have to assess this, because there's 3 categories that we're gonna see here in your list. So if you have a list of 8 things, we're gonna start to name which category they go into, all right? And so the first category is starring each one-off task. So what does that mean? When you look at your list, you'll notice that some of these are one and dones, right? It's like, I do that once, it's done. I'm not gonna do that again, at least not for a long time, okay? It's a one and done. And so if you look at your list here and you look at which one of these could be a one and done, we'll want to go through there, okay? And some of them, they can go either way, okay? But I think once we go through the 3, you'll see that. Actually, maybe I'll just show you all 3. So you start each one-off task, and then you're going to circle, right? I guess it would make sense for this to be a star. You're going to start each one-off task. You're going to circle each one that repeats or is something that you want to repeat. It's a routine, okay? So you're going to circle the things that are routine. And then the last thing is you're going to highlight the ones that are projects. So what does that mean? It means there's no real actionable item here. This is something I need to think about, something I need to pull apart. Like, I need to break this down into smaller pieces, smaller steps, okay? And so star the one-offs, circle the ones that are repeatable or routine, highlight ones that are projects, multiple steps. So let's go through this. Morning journaling. Now, you could say this is a one-off task if it's like, yeah, I just need to try that morning journaling, exercise that somebody gave me. It's a one-off thing and that's the goal and that's it. Okay, then that would fall into the one-off category. Usually when people say this, it's more of a routine. So I'm going to have it be a routine. We're going to circle it. Okay, going grocery shopping. That could be a routine because I know we go grocery shopping more than once. Or you might have wrote it down as, oh, I got to grab, steaks for the barbecue this weekend. Okay, that could be more like a one-off task. Okay, I just need to get steaks for the barbecue this weekend. One-off task. Go grocery shopping. You can also look at it as a routine, meaning like, man, it would be so good if I just identified what day of the week, what day of the month I'm going to do the big shopping. Okay, so this could go either way depending on how you wrote it. The way I wrote it, I'm gonna circle it as a routine. But if it was something like get steaks for the barbecue, I would put a star next to it. Go for a walk outside, also a routine. Not getting good enough sleep, okay? Is that a one-off task? Definitely not. Is that a routine? No, it's really a question, or it's something I need to solve for. So that's something we highlight. Not getting good enough sleep, I'm gonna highlight that because I gotta pull that apart. I gotta figure that out, okay? Stretch and foam roll, same thing. Could be a one-off thing, but I would say more likely a routine. Need to eat better. Going to highlight that one because that's something I need to kind of pull apart and understand. Should I join a gym? Same thing. Something I need to figure out, think through. Order new sneakers. That's definitely a one-off. So I got a star there. Okay, and so as you go through yours, you'll notice what are the one-offs, one and dones, what are more routines that you want to put in, and what are bigger questions that you have about stuff that we need to go deeper with. Okay? So go through all of the tasks that you wrote for that primary category and make sure you star, circle, or highlight them according to where they fit. All right? Step 6, plan of attack. Okay, so this is where we start to put things into action. So we've got our list of projects, we've got our one-off tasks, we've got our routines. Okay, so I put grocery shopping in one-off tasks here. So again, like it doesn't really matter. We'll just call this buy steaks, just so it's a little bit more clear for barbecue. So we got 2 one-offs and we got some routines, okay? And so what do we do from here? Well, I would recommend, or place I like to start, you can do this a couple different ways. You can kind of look at, the projects, the one-off tasks, the routines, and you can kind of start where you feel like it's the most important, where you intuitively feel like, oh man, that's really something I need to solve for. Or you can go through the order that I'm going through. Either way is fine, okay? But let's start with projects. Okay, let's say you have a bunch of projects here. You definitely want to do this with projects depending on how many you have. Look at the different projects that fall into the category of projects and ask yourself, which one of these would be the most impactful to solve? For my health and wellness, right? So this is a health and wellness category. Which one of these would help the category of health and wellness the most? Okay, let's just say not getting good enough sleep. Let's say, man, that's something I need to start to solve for. Okay, and I want you to understand, I'm saying what I just said very intentionally. I just need to start to solve for it. I don't need to solve it. Okay, your nervous system wants to know that you've identified a problem, that you can acknowledge it's a problem, you acknowledge the elephant, and that you're doing something to solve for it. That's all it needs to know. It's going to freak out when you ignore it, okay, or are unaware of it. Okay, that's when it just keeps amping up the intensity of the stress response. And so what you're going to do when you pick, so we'll use not getting good enough sleep as the one that you're going to focus on, is you just want to name the first step. Like I said, you want to be moving in the direction of solving it. You don't need to solve it, just need to move in the direction. So you're going to name the first actionable step. Okay, and an actionable step is a one-off task, something that I can do once and it's done, right? So not getting good enough sleep. If you're somebody who's like no clue how to do better with sleep, then your first actionable step might be research night routines to help with sleep. Okay? Research night routines to improve sleep. Okay, now I'm gonna just keep hammering this home. That doesn't mean implement the new night routine. It just means research night routines. Look them up. Look at them. Just what are some night routines that are out there that help with people, with help getting to sleep better? You're just researching. You're not implementing. You're not doing anything. You're just researching. Okay. Now, maybe you're somebody who knows some things that could be helpful for sleep. Okay. Well, your action plan might be, turn off screens an hour before bedtime and read a book instead. Right? So one little note here is anytime you're trying to eliminate one habit, always name what you're going to replace it with. So don't just say turn off screens an hour before. Also say what you're going to do instead. Okay? So hey, I'm going to turn off screens an hour before, and instead I'm going to read a book that I enjoy, that puts a smile on my face, that gives me peace, inspires me, something that puts me in a good mood, okay? Because you want to be smiling when you go to bed, right? Don't read horror novels before you go to sleep at night. Okay, so you want to name the first actionable step here. Same thing with all of these. Now, you can do one of your projects, but for practice sake, maybe do all of them if you have more than one. So need to eat better, first step, right? First step might be make sure you eat breakfast every day. Okay, so you can see what I just did there is I actually created a potential routine. Okay, so that would go in the routine, but you're naming something, eat breakfast. It could be have eggs and fruit. Okay, so you can name it specifically what you want to eat, or you can just say I just need to eat anything because I just never eat. Right? If you don't know what to eat for breakfast, then your first one-off task could be call my friend who's in really good shape and ask them what they recommend I eat for breakfast. That's a one-off task. Okay, so that's if you didn't know what to do. Well, then you need to do the research part. Okay, so I hope you start to see the difference between one-off tasks and routines that you might want to put into play in projects. Right? Should I join a gym? What's the first step? One-off actionable item could be visit local gym. Check it out. Go on a tour. Okay? And so again, the idea with these bigger projects isn't to solve them. It's to make sure we're moving in the direction of solving them. And I promise you your nervous system is going to be very thankful. Okay? It won't need to set off the alarm if it knows you're addressing the problem or in the process of addressing it. Okay? And so as you kind of go through all of these to-dos and start to kind of break these down and name the one-offs, the routines, and how to break down these projects, a couple guidelines here to put things into action. Okay, and so let's say you have 3 or 4 routines here. We're just naming the routines. Please understand that we're not saying, okay, I need to do all those things. No, here's what I recommend. Okay. Pick one routine that you're going to try for 1 week, okay? Keep the goals short term, okay? The more overwhelmed you are, the more you want to shrink the time frame in your goal setting, okay? Don't be like, okay, I need to get up and meditate and do journaling for the rest of the year. It's like, no, just do it for the next week. Pick one thing you're going to do for the rest of the week. So maybe you're going to go outside for a walk, okay? I'm just going to do that. Each day I'm going to get out there for at least 10 minutes. Great. All right. Now, again, when you're implementing a new routine or habit, it's always a good idea to either piggyback it on something you're already doing, connect it to something you're already doing. So what that could look like is go for a walk outside. It's like, well, every morning I do need to take the dogs out to go pee. And so after I take them to go pee, I'm going to go for my walk. Great. Or you know what? I'm going to take the dog for a walk. Great. Another good little hack is, if there's something already in your routine that you really love, like for me, I love my cup of coffee in the morning. I will put routines in. I will put routines in before I have my cup of coffee. So what do I mean by that? My coffee becomes the reward. So if I was going to start going for a walk, I wanted that routine, I would say, okay, you only get your cup of coffee if you get outside for 10, 15 minutes every morning, okay? It's a good way to do it because now you're rewarding the action that you're trying to get yourself to do with something that you enjoy. So there's some cool habit hacks that you can do, okay? And so pick and schedule that one routine for 1 week, okay? And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to commit to no more than 3 tasks per day. So if you look at your tasks, your one-offs, okay, let's say we picked our routine. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to go for a walk outside. That's what I'm going to commit to. I'm going to pick no more than 3 tasks per day. So out of the tasks that I have here, okay, one-off tasks, I'm going to commit to doing no more than 3. Okay? You should never commit to doing more than 3 tasks a day. Commit means it's non-negotiable that I get those done. When I commit to doing it, it's a non-negotiable. Okay? No more than 3. Okay? And so if you said, okay, what are my non-negotiables to do today? Okay, well, number 1 is I got to get those steaks for the barbecue because the barbecue's tomorrow. That makes it urgent. Okay, number 2 could be, you know what? I really want to get those sneakers. Okay, and those are the 2 things I'm 100% committing to getting done today. Okay, anything else on this list is a B. Bonus. Bonus. All right? And so I'm committing to buying the steaks. I'm committing to ordering new sneakers. If I have time, I'm going to research, about night routines. If I have time, I'm going to visit that local gym. And if I do that, it's a bonus. I'm ahead of the game. If I don't, it's okay because I got the 2 most important things done today. This is how you set yourself up to feeling like you crushed it every day. You got to prioritize what's most important. And we're using our brain to tell us what's most important. And then we're starting to solve the biggest problems in each category, okay? And so one last step here. Step 7 is you want to name and celebrate what you did. So at the end of the day, okay, this is the fun part, guys, so please don't skip this part. Who doesn't love a good checkbox, checking off a box, right? Who doesn't love that? We all love it. Look at that. Bang, check, okay? Name what you did. Own it. Man, I ordered my sneakers, and I got those steaks. I got it done. And oh my God, I'm checking off a bonus today. I got a bonus done today, okay? Celebrate what you've done, okay? It's so important to acknowledge what you did. This is the way to stay motivated and inspired every day. It's called measuring backwards. It's one of my favorite things to teach people. I did a whole video on performance mindset, and I talked a lot about measuring backwards, but this is one of the ways you can implement it. Check out my YouTube. There's lots of stuff on my YouTube where I go deeper into a lot of these concepts. But measuring backwards is so important because if every day you're naming what you got done and the bonuses you got done and you're owning it and you're acknowledging it, you're going to feel like you're ahead. What most people do is they look at what they didn't get done, where they fell short. Well, here's the problem with that. There's never going to be a day that you couldn't have done more things. There's never a day where everything you could have done could have been done. It doesn't exist, right? And so what we're doing is we're comparing where we are to some ideal, fantastical reality. Well, that is a great way to feel stuck, not enough, defeated, etc., etc. This strategy will get you at the end of your day feeling like you crushed it, feeling like you owned it. I challenge you, put this into practice for 30 days, for 4 weeks, and you will feel like a different person. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out a lot of the other content on my YouTube channel. I talk a lot about these types of things and some of these concepts like measuring backwards and the 5 pillars of stress. You'll find these on my channel. Thanks again.